The Harmonic Chorale of the Lyceum of the Philippines University will lead the chamber in the singing of the Philippine National Anthem, and thereafter, they will also render a song entitled Iisang Bangka.
Walang magiliw, benes na silanganan, halag ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, dulit ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil, sa lagat at bundok sa simoy, sa langit na magha, may nilagang tula, tawid sa paglayang minamahal, ang bisat ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdinigdig, ang bituin na parang niyang kailan, pag may di magdidilim, lupa ng araw ng maghatid pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya ng may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Saan ang tungo, mahal mo, kaibigan? Saan sa sadya'y hanap mo, katahimik, sa tayo'y magkasama, laging sasagayan. Sa kaibigan naman tayo, natin ang layang, sa pumahawis na kapising tayo, magnilay kami. Tawon ang damo, tangay ng hangin, at di mo matanaw kung saan ka dadalhin. Ngunit kasama mo ako, nakatikis sa puso mo. Naluyong ang dagat ay tatawidin natin. Saan ang tungo, mahal mo, kaibigan? Saan sa sadya'y hanap mo, katahimik, basta tayo'y magkasama.
Thank you very much for that apt song. Secretary will please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 19 senators present, Chair declares the presence. Why is Senator Go raising his hand? Was he not counted? With 19 senators present, Chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, before we proceed with the business for the day, we'd like, before we acknowledge our guests, Mr. President, I'd like to acknowledge again the recent birthday of our colleague, Senator Robin Hood Padilla, Mr. President. He just celebrated his birthday last Saturday, November 23, Mr. President. Mr. President, there are some guests present in the gallery. Guests of Senator Mig Zubiri, Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, Yusek Melbourne Pana, Yusek Cristal Uy, and Yusek Rose Edelion. And the OULA staff, as well as the Office of the Secretary staff members. Mr. President, guests of Senator Grace Poe, PUP Main Campus delegates of PUP Young Leaders Congress 2024. Well, I think they're a big bunch here, Mr. President. Guests of the Senate of the Philippines, PUP students AB Filipino Lohia, headed by Perla Carpio. Mr. President, these are the guests present today.
Welcome to your Senate. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 28th session Monday, November 4, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, reading of the journal is dispensed with, and the same is considered approved. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary is directed to comply.
Messages from the House. Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 11 November 2024, it adopted the House Concurrent Resolution number 38. Concurrent Resolution authorizing the correction of Section 1 in the enrolled copy of House Bill number 9, creating additional branches of the RTC and MTC in the National Capital Judicial Region to be stationed in the city of San Juan, converting 4 branches of the RTC in Pasig City into 4 branches of the RTC in City of San Juan, appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14E and 27 of BP 129 as amended, in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate.
The Committee on Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 12 November 2024, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. 10882, establishing in Maramag, Bukidnon, a South School Division Office and appropriating funds therefore.
The Committee on Basic Education and Finance.
10911, establishing a national high school in Palusapis, Muñoz, and Nueva Ecija to be known as the Inday Melencio National High School, appropriating funds therefore.
The Committee on Basic Education and Finance.
10884, creating a DPWH Regional Office, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, and 5 new district engineering offices thereunder and appropriating funds therefore.
The Committees on Public Works and Finance.
10891, renaming the San Jose Banga Dama Road, stretching from Barangay San Jose in San Miguel through Barangay Sibaon, Buyo, Tagsing, Palagon, Balibagan Este, and Inangayan in Santa Barbara, province of Iloilo, as Congressman Arcadio H. Goriseta Avenue.
The Committee on Public Works.
10892, naming the road from Barangay East Junction of Hermosilla Drive to Barangay North, Rizal Extension, up to Barangay Donghol, junction of Hermosilla Drive to Barangay North, Rizal Extension, up to Barangay Donghol, Donghol Lake Imelda Road, which is also referred 2 by the DPWH as the Ormoc Lake Imelda National Tertiary Road in Ormoc, Province of Leyte as the Benjamin Pongos Avenue.
The Committee on Public Works.
10836, upgrading the district office of the LTO in Batac, Ilocos Norte from Class D to Class C, appropriating funds therefore.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services and Finance.
10885, establishing in San Miguel, Zamboanga del Sur, a district hospital to be known as the San Miguel District Hospital, appropriating funds therefore.
To the Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
Mr. President, for the record, Mr.
What is
President,
the pleasure of the majority, floor leader?
it would appear that some of the technical screens are not working right now in front of the members of this chamber, Mr. President.
On my side, it is. Which screens aren't working on your side? Ah, these two.
Yes, Mr. President.
Session is suspended.
House number 8905, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Grace Tanto.
The Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
10867, providing better access to Muslim Filipinos pilgrims through privatization of the annual Hajj pilgrimage, amending RA 9997, otherwise known as the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos Act of 2000.
Referred to the Committees on Cultural Communities and Muslim Affairs, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
Bill on first reading, Senate number 2877, providing for a socialized and locals housing loan restructuring condonation program under the National Housing Authority and for other purposes, Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committee on Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement.
Resolutions, proposed Senate Resolution 1229, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the proliferation of online sexual abuse and exploitation of children in the country, with the end in view of strengthening existing measures to create a safer online environment for children and hold perpetrators accountable, Senator Gatchalian.
To the Committees on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs.
1230, congratulating and commending Team Philippines for dominating the 2024 International Canoe Federation Dragon Boat World Championships held in Puerto Princesa, Palawan, Senator Lapid.
To the Committee on Rules.
1231, directing the Senate Committee on Public Services to conduct an inquiry on the strict implementation of MMDA Regulation 23-002 and other traffic rules and regulations following the recent traffic violation concerning on the EDSA busway. Senator Tulfo.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
1232, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry on the irregular sale of vapes and other regulated goods in various e-marketplaces and the proliferation of fake items online in violation of RA 11967, otherwise known as the Internet Transactions Act of 2023. Senator Tulfo.
To the Committee on Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship.
1233, directing the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an inquiry to address the urgent need for enhanced measures to combat illegal recruitment in the seasonal workers programs for Filipino workers in South Korea. Senator Tulfo.
Referred to the Committees on Migrant Workers and Foreign Relations.
1234, calling for the appropriate Senate Committee to conduct an investigation in aid of legislation into recent incidents of unauthorized or fraudulent deductions and transfers involving fintech services, as well as existing rules and regulations governing the fintech sector. Senator Ontiveros.
To the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
1235, commending and congratulating Filipina skateboarder Marjeline Didal for winning the Women's Division Championship at the Red Bull Buenos Aires Conquest held at the University of Buenos Aires Law School on November 9, 2024. Senator Estrada.
To the Committee on Rules.
Committee Report 346, jointly by the Committees on Economic Affairs, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Finance. On Senate number 2878, with Senators Gatchalian, Marcos, Ejercito, and Zubir as authors. An act reorganizing the National Economic and Development Authority into the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, and reconstituting the NEDA Board into the Economy and Development Council, repealing for the purpose EO 230 series of 87 and amending EO 292 series of 1987, appropriating funds therefore. Recommending its approval in substitution Senate numbers 1060, 2468, and 2483, sponsor Senator Zubiri.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Additional reference to business, message of the President. Letter of His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos dated 29 October 2024, certifying to the necessity of the immediate enactment of House Number 10800, an act appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2025.
To the Committee on Rules.
Bill on first reading, Senate Number 2879, an act establishing the Basulta Autonomous Region, Senator Padilla.
To the Committees on Local Government, Electoral Reforms, and People's Participation and Finance.
Resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution 1236, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the unauthorized transactions, financial losses, and existing laws, rules, and regulations related to mobile wallet applications and digital bank, Senator Villar M.
Referred to the Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
1237, directing the proper Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the reports that rape and acts of lasciviousness were the top violations committed against Filipino children in 2023, Senator Binay.
Referred to the Committee on Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality, Justice, and Human Rights.
1238, directing the Senate Committee on Energy to conduct an inquiry into the Energy Regulatory Commission's performance-based regulation approach, specifically the adoption of the as-commissioned method as opposed to the as-spent method for power transmission and distribution, Senator Escudero.
To the Committee on Energy.
Committee reports, Committee Report 347 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 7406, an act amending sections 23, 50, 52, and 50 of RA 11689, the revised charter of the City of Baguio, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
348, submitted by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 707, declaring July 8 of every year special non-working holiday in the City of Isabela, Province of Basilan, in celebration of the feast of Saint Elizabeth of Portugal, to be known as Fiesta Alegria de Isabela, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
349 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 7008, declaring March 7 of every year special non-working holiday in the province of Basilan in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, to be known as the Araw ng Basilan, and in recognition of the Tenun Pakaradian as the official festival of the province of Basilan, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
350 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5828, declaring January 29 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Maria, Bulacan, to be known as Francisco Santiago Day in honor of the life and music of Filipino musician and composer Francisco Santiago. Recommending its approval with amendment, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
351 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5831, declaring November 8 of every year special non-working holiday in Quezon in commemoration of the death anniversary of revolutionary hero Apolinario de la Cruz, popularly known as Hermano Poli. Recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
352 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5832, declaring September 14 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Cruz Occidental, Mindoro in celebration of the Feast of the Holy Cross, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
353, submitted by the Committee on Local Government, House Number 5837, an act declaring March 30 of every year special non-working holiday in the city of Puerto Princesa in commemoration of its declaration as the City of the Living God, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
354 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5836, declaring June 24 of every year special non-working holiday in Balayan, Batangas in celebration of the Parada ng Lechon, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
355 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5833, declaring November 22 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Maria, Bulacan, to be known as Joseng Batute Day in honor of the life and literary work of Filipino poet and writer Jose Corazon de Jesus, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
356 by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5556, declaring July 22 of every year special non-working holiday in Kawit, Cavite in commemoration of its Foundation Day, recommending its approval with amendments, taking into consideration Senate Number 1356, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
357, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5850, declaring January 6 of every year special non-working holiday in Quezon City to be known as the Tandansora Day, in commemoration of the birth anniversary of Melchora Aquino, also known as in Philippine history as the Mother of the Katipunan. Recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
358, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5841, declaring September 6 of every year special non-working holiday in Mendez Nunez, province of Cavite, in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
The calendar for ordinary business.
359, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 9771, declaring April 25 of every year special non-working holiday in the city of Isabela, Basilan, in commemoration of its Charter Day anniversary to be known as the Araw ng Isabela de Basilan, Araw ng Sakayan. Recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
360, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5846, an act declaring September 21 of every year special non-working holiday in San Mateo, Rizal, to be known as the Araw ng Bayan ng San Mateo, in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
361, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5852, declaring April 1 of every year special non-working holiday in Santa Cruz, Occidental Mindoro, to be known as the Araw ng Santa Cruz, in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
362, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5827, declaring March 21 of every year special non-working holiday in the city of Calakman, province of Oriental Mindoro, in commemoration of its charter anniversary, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsored Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
363, submitted by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 7004, declaring the last Friday of May of every year a special non-working holiday in the province of Catanduanes in celebration of the Abaca Festival, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsored Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
364, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5847, declaring November 28 of every year a special non-working holiday in Sarangani in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator
To
Ejercito.
the calendar for ordinary business.
365, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 6158, declaring October 27 of every year a special non-working holiday in Sarangani in recognition of the unique contribution of the indigenous peoples of Sarangani to the rich and diverse cultural heritage of the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
366, by the Committee on Local Government on House Number 5845, declaring July 1 of every year a special non-working holiday in San Carlos, Negros Occidental in commemoration of its foundation anniversary, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsor Senator Ejercito.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
367, jointly by the Committees on Local Government, Trade Commerce and Entrepreneurship and Finance on Senate Number 1278, introduced by Senator Ejercito, establishing a business permit and licensing office in every city or municipality in the country, recommending its approval with amendments, sponsored Senator Ejercito.
The calendar for ordinary business.
368, jointly by the Committees on Public Information and Mass Media, Civil Service, Government Reorganization and Professional Regulation and Finance on Senate Number 2880, with Senators Poe, Villanueva, Angara, Revilla Jr., Legarda, and Padilla as authors. An act implementing the people's right to information and the constitutional policies of full public disclosure and honesty in the public service and for other purposes. Recommending its approval in substitution Senate numbers 100, 933, 1006, 1101, and 2321, sponsored Senator Padilla.
The calendar for ordinary business. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we transfer from the calendar for ordinary business to the calendar for special orders, Committee Report number 346 on Senate Bill number 2878. This is the bill on the Economy, Planning, and Development Act. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the aforementioned bill is now under consideration.
Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Bill number 2878 under Committee Report number 346.
Any objection? Hearing none, Secretary General is directed to comply.
An act reorganizing the National Economic and Development Authority into the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, and reconstituting the NEDA Board into the Economy and Development Council, repealing for the purpose Executive Order number 230 series of 1987 and amending Executive Order number 292 series of 1987 and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, to sponsor the measure, I move to recognize Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Economic Affairs, to deliver his sponsorship speech.
Any objection? There being none, Senator Zubiri is recognized to deliver his sponsorship speech of Senate Bill number 2878. You are recognized, sir, and you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, it is my honor to sponsor today Senate Bill number 2878, or the Economy Planning and Development Act, under which we will be reorganizing the NEDA into the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, or the DEPD. This is an opportune time for Southeast Asia. As global politics shift, more and more foreign investors are choosing to move out of China, and our region stands as a promising alternative. And the Philippines in particular is well poised to take advantage of this moment as we build on various multilateral and bilateral initiatives, such as the landmark Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement and a recently upgraded strategic partnership with South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. But economic success is not an inevitability. Just because investors are moving into the region does not mean that they are moving to us automatically. We still have to fight for our seat at the table, especially since we have difficult competition. Our neighbors are coming up with much better incentive packages and lease policies, and we are, in truth, still playing catch-up. This is a shame, Mr. President, given the advantages that we have as an English-speaking country with a sizable demographic of professional, skilled, and manual workers. So, if we have all the ingredients, then what else do we need? If you will allow the metaphor, Mr. President, what we need is an executive chef, a figure of authority who can get the entire kitchen in line and make sure that every last person is working towards the same goal. We need a strong economic directive. We need plans, yes, but more importantly, we need a whole of government follow through on these plans. We need someone to oversee all our government agencies and our local government units and make sure that they are all doing their part to put our economic plans into action. This is why we are now proposing that the NEDA be turned into a full-fledged department so we can accord it the authority that it needs to lead our economic development initiatives. For decades, the NEDA has been at the helm of our economic planning, doing its level best to avert us from economic headwinds and to keep us on course with the tailwinds. But economic growth cannot be the work of one agency alone. To date, NEDA sits in over numerous interagency bodies and councils, underscoring its vital role in shaping the nation's economic and social development. As the Department of Economic and Planning and Development, the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, they will be in a better position to push for the implementation of their economic plans and policies. And they will be able to engage with other government agencies and offices, as well as foreign political actors, with the full standing and command of an executive department. The reorganization will institutionalize the expanded powers and functions of the agency, facilitate the organizational restructuring necessary for the agency to deliver this expanded mandate, and to place the DEPD on equal footing with other executive departments, further resulting in an easier coordination, implementation, and monitoring of plans and projects. Furthermore, Mr. President, the reorganization will result in the agency's transformation into a more efficient and effective apparatus of government, particularly in fulfilling its role in the public sector management. The department will give the agency a stronger mandate to ensure that there is planning and budgeting linkage. Under this bill, we also push for a stronger regional presence for the DEPD, as we will establish regional offices that can focus on particularities of our regional economies. We do have, Mr. President, NEDA regional offices and corresponding regional development councils at the moment, but the DEPD regional offices will have an expanded role in the policy making of respective local government units. Apart from monitoring the alignment of local priorities and national plans, they will also have a hand in more granular matters, such as evaluating project and program proposals, the land use plans in the region, among others. The bill mandates that the DEPD to ensure the alignment of and coherence of national, subnational, sectoral, spatial policies, plans, programs, and projects. Development has to sprout from the ground up. It is not wise, effective, nor sustainable to draw up a big picture plan without first considering what is happening on the ground. That disconnect, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, will naturally lead to poor implementation. We have to anchor our economic plans with the reality of our regions and our people. The establishment of the DEPD and its regional offices will be vital to this regard. Mr. President, with the reorganization of NEDA into DEPD, I suspect that foremost in the minds of our colleagues is the question of whether there are new agencies to be created. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, there is none. We're not creating a new monster or any agency that you may call it. Mr. President, the DEPD will just retain all the agencies under or attached to the NEDA. Another concern would be the budgetary impact. With the expanded powers and functions of DEPD, will it necessitate its staffing pattern, or shall it be adjusted as well? Fortunately, Secretary R.C. Balisacan, our secretary, being a true GI or genuine Ilocano, will only ask for an additional 170 new positions or staff at the 2025 compensation level, which will amount to a small sum of 116 million. However, we did not put this in the bill yet, as the staffing pattern will be the subject of approval of the DBM and can just be requested in the succeeding budget cycle. The other salient provisions of the bill are, number one, it expands the functions of the committees under the Economy and Development Council, or ED councils, which will replace the current NEDA board chaired by the President. Number two, it rationalizes and streamlines the membership of the ED councils and its committees. Number three, it mandates the ED council and its committees to meet regularly on a quarterly basis or as frequent as necessary. And lastly, number four, provides the President with the authority to create additional or abolish existing committees under the Council and reorganize members thereof. Mr. President, the NEDA has been an invaluable part of the country's economic development over the years. Even our own former Senator and now Secretary of Finance, Secretary Ralph Recto, was a member of this chamber. He was also a Secretary of NEDA, to show the importance of this agency. Indeed, I want to thank and salute Secretary R.C. Balisacan and the whole NEDA team who are with us today for all the work that they do for our country. And I know that they can do more. And as DEPD, they will be empowered to do more for us. So, Mr. President, I hope to have the support of our colleagues in securing the passage of this measure. Maraming salamat po, mga kababayan and dear President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Subiri. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator Lauren Ligarda, I believe, and Senator Sherwin Gatchalian would like to insert their co-sponsorship speeches for this measure, Mr. President. Senator Joel Villanueva would like to deliver a co-sponsorship speech.
Senator Joel Villanueva is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Mr. President, esteemed colleagues, it is my honor and privilege to co-sponsor Senate Bill number 2878 under Committee Report number 346, or the Economy, Planning, and Development Act. We thank the distinguished sponsor of the measure, the hardworking chairperson of the Committee on Economic Affairs, who is not listening to me, Senator Mig Subiri, for this very important piece of legislation. Ginoong Pangulo, napakahalaga po ng katungkulang ginagampanan ng NEDA na siya pong nangunguna sa pananaliksik, pagbabalangkas, at pangangasiwa ng mga plano at polisiya para po sa pag-unlad ng ating bayan. Ang mga planong ito ang gumagabay sa ating pamahalaan sa paglalatag ng mga estratehiya upang matugunan ang mga suliranin kagaya ng kahirapan at kakulangan sa trabaho. NEDA also plays a pivotal role in identifying key sectors and projects that will drive economic growth, facilitating public-private partnerships and coordinating programs across government agencies to ensure that developmental goals are met and policies are effectively and efficiently implemented. Ginoong Pangulo, NEDA also chairs the Trabaho para sa Bayan Interagency Council created by Republic Act number 11962, which was principally authored and sponsored by this representation. The council is responsible for conducting a comprehensive analysis of the country's employment situation and formulating the Trabaho para sa Bayan plan to address unemployment, underemployment, and other challenges in the labor market. Ang TPB plan po ang master plan ng ating bansa pagdating sa paglikha ng trabaho. We cannot emphasize enough the significance of NEDA in the pursuit of this endeavor. Hence, the passage of this bill reorganizing the NEDA into the Department of Economy, Planning, and Development and reconstituting the NEDA Board into the Economy and Development Council is crucial towards ensuring that the agency has all the necessary tools to effectively execute its expanded mandates and pursue enhanced policy coherence to achieve our economic and development goals. Ginoong Pangulo, sa pamamagitan po ng panukalang ito, mas mapapaigting pa ang koordinasyon sa mga stakeholders, kasama na ang people's organizations, lokal na pamahalaan at pribadong sektor upang masiguro na ang kanilang mga pangangailangan at suhestyon ay isinasaalang-alang sa pagbalangkas ng mga plano para po sa pambansang kaunlaran. Kaya naman po inihahayag po natin sa bulwagang ito ang ating buong suporta sa pagsasabatas ng Senate Bill number 2878 at nagpapasalamat po tayong muli sa ating sponsor Senator Mig Zubiri sa pagsusulong sa panukalang ito. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo. Pagpalain po tayong lahat ng ating Panginoong Diyos.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, Senator De La Rosa would like to have his co-sponsorship speech be inserted into the records likewise, Mr. President.
The co-sponsorship speech of Senator De La Rosa is hereby inserted into the records.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of Senate Bill number 2878.
Any objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2583 under Committee Report number 259. This is the bill on the Aklan Museum and Cultural Center Act. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the resumption of consideration of Senate Bill number 2583 under Committee Report number 259 is now in order.
Mr. President, having sponsored the measure and there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move to close the period of interpolation. And so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is hereby approved.
1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Mr. President, there being no committee or individual amendment, I move to approve on second reading Senate Bill number 2583. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, Senate Bill number 2583 is hereby approved on second reading.
1 minute suspension, 1 micro-minute suspension. Mr.
Session suspended. Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of Senate Concurrent Resolution number 24. This is a resolution authorizing the correction of Section 1 in an enrolled copy of House Bill number 8259 relative to the creation of a regional trial court in San Juan City, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, I move that we consider Senate Concurrent Resolution number 24. This is the resolution authorizing the correction of Section 1 in enrolled copy of HBN 8259, the RTC of San Juan City Bill, and I move that we adopt the same, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Consideration of Senate Concurrent Resolution number 24 is in order. The Secretary will read the title of the resolution.
Concurrent resolution authorizing the correction of Section 1 in the enrolled copy of House Bill number 8259, entitled An Act Creating Additional Branches of the Regional Trial Court and Metropolitan Trial Court in the National Capital Judicial Region to be stationed in the city of San Juan, converting 4 branches of the Regional Trial Court in Pasig City into 4 branches of the Regional Trial Court in city of San Juan, and appropriating funds therefore, amending for the purpose Section 14E and 27 of Batas Pambasa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980 as amended.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, my sponsorship speech stands, having been the previous chairman of the Committee on Justice and Human Rights, Mr. President, and there being no member who wishes to interpolate or propose amendments to the measure, I move to adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution number 24. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, Senate Concurrent Resolution number 24, subject to style, is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 10048 under Committee Report number 261. This is the bill granting Philippine citizenship to Alexander Corovin. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the resumption of consideration of House Bill number 10048 under Committee Report number 261 is now in order.
Mr. President, in order to sponsor and defend the measure, I relinquish my position as Majority Leader to the Deputy Majority Leader and I seek a minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Mr. President, I move to recognize the sponsor, our Majority Leader Senator Francis Tolentino, to sponsor the measure and to interpret our Minority Leader Senator Aquino Commendations. So, Mr. President.
The Majority Leader and the Minority Leader are both recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of our sponsor, just a few clarificatory questions on the personality of this of the subject matter of our bill, as well as on the reasons why we are granting him Philippine citizenship, Mr. President. So, I think Mr. Alexander Sergeyevich Corovin is currently a Russian citizen. Is that correct, Mr. President?
You're correct, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Just in case the sponsor knows, what is the rule in Russia? Is he allowed to have dual citizenship, or will he lose his Russian citizenship when he's granted Filipino citizenship?
My understanding, Mr. President, is that he will lose his Russian citizenship. And, Mr. President, even prior to acquiring a Filipino citizenship, Mr. President, he was granted by his sports federation the right to participate in Philippine sports and temporarily join the Philippine skating team, Your Honor, Mr. President.
Yes, and he is willing, yes. We want to make it of record that he is willing to give up his current Russian citizenship, Mr. President, for this.
Yes, Mr.
So,
President.
yes, and yun. And then how long has he ever stayed here in the Philippines?
Yes, Mr. President. During our previous hearing, I think that was last year, and prior to that, during the COVID days, he was staying in Barangay Kupang in Muntinlupa City, Metro Manila, Mr. President. And he has an address. I think he is renting an apartment in the said place, Mr. President.
I have been informed, Mr. President, that he is a sports figure, Mr. President. May we know what sport?
This is skating, Mr. President. He is a decorated elite figure skater from Russia with several accomplishments. One Grand Prix medal. This is the highest level of skating competition. Silver in the 2018 Stake America, and 5 medals on the International Skating Union Challenger Series. And I understand, Mr. President, just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, he won a silver for the Philippines together with his partner, Isabella Gomez. Mr. President, he won last November 22. It was November 22, and it's just November 25, just 3 days ago. He just won another medal for the country, Mr. President. And for the record, Mr. President, even without being asked, Skater Gomez, his partner, is a grandniece of one of our former colleagues here. Ms. Gomez is a granddaughter of the former dean of the University of the Philippines, UST dean of School of Medicine, and a grandniece of one of our colleagues here, Freddie Webb, Senator Freddie Webb.
If I may interject with
Yes,
permission of the Minority Leader. What is this, ice skating or regular skating?
Ice skating,
Is there no ice skating in Russia?
Mr.
Is
President?
there no ice skating in Russia?
They have.
So why does he want to represent the Philippines, not his home country?
He has become, he is now close to the Philippines, having been a figure in shaping likewise the talents of Miss Isabella Gomez, who I just mentioned a while ago is a grandniece of Senator Freddie Webb. And he is really very interested in our country because he has lived here. He has stayed here during the post-COVID days. And he wants to develop
But it's only
skating here.
3 years ago?
Yes,
And they were going to grant him Philippine citizenship just like that?
but
It's only 3 years.
he has represented the country more than 3 years, Mr. President.
Yes. Wasn't he recruited by his home country to represent Russia?
He was originally playing under the Russian flag, but he personally requested that he be allowed to play under the Philippine flag, and he was granted that request was granted by the Russian Skating Federation, which and Winter Olympics and skating is a sport which would allow release of nationals playing under a flag. So he's really interested in becoming a Filipino because for him, the Philippines is where he can train young kids as what was called during the committee hearings. And he has shown an affinity to several Filipino figures who took care of him, including Mr. Gary Ramirez, Diane Cheng,
May I know how old is this Mr. Alexander? How do you pronounce this? Alexander?
Corovin.
Corovin. How old is he?
He is now 30 years old.
30 years old.
Yes.
How many years will he be active in ice skating?
Yes, I also asked that question, Mr. President.
How many years
I
more is
think
left?
he still has 7 or 8 years.
All right,
to-
after 7 or 8 years, after he retires from ice skating, where will he go?
I think he will be involved in teaching young kids here. Well, we have skating rinks, Mr. President. SM South Mall, we have MOA, we have Mega Mall, Mr. President.
How sure are you that he's going to teach our young skaters?
Well, Mr. President, that has been
Was that his commitment to teach our young skaters
I asked
after
him.
his retirement from
I asked him,
skating?
Mr. President, and I think he's now doing that. Aside
No.
from Ms. Games, he is teaching other Filipino skaters likewise to be part of the Philippine team, Mr. President. And the prime consideration here, Mr. President, is he has shown really a dedication and love for our country, Mr. President, by really being here when he is not training abroad. In fact, tonight, Mr. President, he will be here. He will be here tonight. He will be arriving tonight. Perhaps he will be joining us in a hearing tomorrow if there is another period of questioning. He will be here.
He's coming from a competition where he represented the
The
Philippines.
Philippines. He just won in Chongqing,
China.
China, November 22.
How
Cup
can
of
he-
China.
How can he represent the Philippines if he's not yet a Filipino citizen?
That's allowed, Mr.
Allowed.
President, under
allowed?
the Skating Federation, Mr. President. But for the Olympics, you have to be a Filipino citizen. This is a pair skating. So, pair skating, Mr.
Okay.
President, is like this.
Dalawa sila.
Dalawa sila. One has to be
A Filipino.
a Filipino. And that's the grandniece of Senator Freddie Webb. So, dalawa sila na nagko-compete under the Philippine flag.
You know, I am very, very particular in granting citizenship to foreigners, especially with athletes, no? Kasi after they play for under our flag, Philippine flag, pag mag-retire na yung mga yan, where will they go? Will they stay here in the Philippines or will they go back to their own country?
I also raised that question, Mr. President. That's
They
why
don't even know how to recite the Philippine national anthem. We grant Philippine citizenship. Napakamura ng ang pag-grant ng Philippine citizenship sa atin. Yung mga Pilipino na sa ibang bansa, hirap na hirap kumuha ng citizenship sa Amerika, sa ibang bansa. Pero tayo, dalawang houses lang kakausapin mo, House of Representatives sa House of the Senate. After they play for us, they won't reside here, they won't stay here, they won't help the Filipinos here. Yun lang naman yung sa akin. Okay, they play under our flag, we win championships. Yun ang, kasi, of course, lalo na sa basketball, this is a basketball crazy nation. We grant citizenship to Brownlee, to Blatch, to Kwame. Oh, they played under our flag. But after that, where will they go? Will
Mr.
they
President-
teach our young basketball players how to play? If they have that commitment, then okay, I will not object to it.
I think, Mr. President, I can answer your questions, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
please.
I was the one who filed the resolution seeking an investigation as to why the Department of Labor and Employment, the Philippine Basketball Association, and even the Samahang Basketballista ng Pilipinas are preventing Filipino citizens, Mr. Blanch, Douthit, and even Brownlee from playing in the All-Filipino.
Yes.
So what can they do? They're not allowed. So I would have wanted them to be part of our homegrown leagues, Mr. President. Pero local conditions, matangkad daw, ayaw palaruin. So as the case of Mr. Corovin, we got a commitment that he will really stay here. In fact, he had a lot of other offers from other countries, Mr. President, including the United States, to stay here. And there are situations in reverse. We have Mr. Wesley So. Mr. Wesley So is a good chess player from Bacoor, my home province, but he was recruited to play. He was given scholarship by a big university in the United States. Now, granted U.S. citizenship. So, hindi natin binigyan ng opportunity. Ito ngayon, Gusto sila na nagbo-volunteer para tumigil dito at magturo dito and to provide our country more recognition and medals. Kasama na rin po yung pagtuturo niya doon sa mga kapartner niya, Mr. President.
If I may ask, what is the law in Russia? Do they recognize dual citizenship?
I think they once you
Because
abandon,
if they do not recognize dual citizenship, magiging Filipino citizen lang siya.
yes,
Am I correct?
yes.
May the chair be
I think you're
regarding
correct. The passport will be cancelled, and it's
the
really,
Russian passport
Yes.
will be cancelled
yes,
if we approve
yes,
the Philippine
yes.
citizenship of
So he
Mr.
cannot
Corovin.
revert back to his.
No, I want to know what is the law in Russia regarding dual citizenship.
I
If
don't
there is.
have the copy of the exact law here, but my understanding, Mr. President, is that he is willing to have his passport cancelled.
Because if they recognize dual citizenship, and if we approve his Filipino citizenship, then he is going to be a holder of two passports. At any time he can
No,
renounce
Mr.
his,
President,
Philippine citizenship.
this is actually a unique situation because I believe Russia does not allow dual citizenship. So this is really a very serious and momentous decision on the part of Mr. Corovin because he will really lose his current citizenship and become Filipino. So if he's really serious about this, talaga seryoso siya. And then, I believe that he has a bright future here in the country to teach figure skating. He has a monopoly of the knowledge and of the skill as well as of the track record. He is a medal figure skater. So, and then sabi nga ng ating sponsor, may tatlo, hindi ko ito alam, pero may tatlo na pala tayong ano rito ice skating rinks. SM Mega Mall, MOA, SM MOA, and then SM South Mall.
Mall.
So I believe he can have a post his sports career, he can have an economically viable livelihood here in the Philippines, Mr. President.
Is figure skating included in the NSA?
Not yet, Mr.
Not yet.
President. But there is a Philippine Skating Union, Mr. President. So it's not. It is recognized by the Philippine Olympic Committee because we represent. We provide. There used to be also from Muntinlupa a certain Mr. Michael Martinez who represented the
Is
Philippines.
figure skating included in the event in the Olympics?
Yes,
All right.
yes, Winter Olympics.
Even in the Southeast Asian Games, wala.
Wala po sa South.
Wala sa
Wala tayong ano.
Sa Asian Games, wala rin.
I think we have, once upon a time, I recall there was a skating in Japan, Mr. President. Hindi ko na ma-recall kasi
Well, I agree with the statement of the minority leader.
Big
If
risk.
there is no law, if they do not recognize dual citizenship in Russia, that is a
Big
decision,
yes.
a big decision that he has to make. It's either to choose between his home country and the Philippines.
Huwag mo siya Russian ambassador.
Well, if that is the case, I will not object because if his home country does not recognize dual citizenship, then that is his decision to be a Filipino citizen.
then we can look for a Filipina wife for him, Mr. President.
Maybe we can ask Senator Robin Hood Padilla to find a wife for him to look for.
What is important, Mr. President, is the partner is Filipina, and probably there is the quotation marks transfer of technology or the knowledge about the sport soon, and possibly we can probably make the Guinness Book of World Records that the Philippines will win its first gold medal in the Winter Olympics, Mr. President. So that is the wish. I think does the sponsor share that wish, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President. I think being just 30 years old, And that's still considered as a young age for a skater, Mr. President. 30 years old. So bone flexibility is still there. The acumen is still there. So, Mr. President, just as a additional information, Mr. President, Mr. Corovin was a member of the Russian national figure skating team for 3 seasons, 2017 to 2020. So he waited for 24 months to
Yeah.
represent the
This
Philippines.
one question, with the
Yes.
indulgence of the minority leader. How did he come here? How did he go here?
I think it was through the
Why was he interested in the Philippines in the
it
first
was
place?
through the intercession likewise of his Filipino mentors, principally Mr. Cheng, Mr. Gary Ramirez, who've been in these sports for several years or decades. So that's how
So these Filipino,
their heads, they're the
Filipino
heads.
friends
Yes.
convinced him to come over here in the Philippines
Yes, partly.
and to represent our country. Am I correct?
Partly, Mr. President, that's the same reason as what happened before, but Hit and the others, they were not originally from here.
And after 2 years, they fell in love with the Philippines. Correct? Kasi gusto niya na rito. He's applying for Filipino citizenship.
And he's,
So na-in-love na sa bansa natin.
and perhaps, Mr. President, this is setting politics aside. This is perhaps a showcase for us that this guy who came from a very quote unquote undemocratic regime would probably have realized that democracy and freedom flourishes in this pearl of the Orient, Mr. President. Having seen perhaps the vibrancy of our democracy here, gusto na niya dito. Ayaw na niya bumalik kay Mr. Putin.
Well, is that the reason why he
Hindi lang
wants
yan.
to be Filipino citizenship? Because his hometown is undemocratic?
No, hindi lang yan, Mr. President. Meron kasing isang note dito na meron siyang kukunin pa sanang isang papeles para makasuporta doon sa layunin niyang tumigil dito na hindi na niya makuha kasi sumiklab na yung digmaan ng Ukraine at Russia. Kaya gusto niya sa isang lugar na tahimik at
Sigurado ba siya tahimik dito?
siguro mas magulo
Mas
sa
tahimik.
kanila.
Ha?
Wala nang fast food dun sa kanila.
Mas tahimik. Everything is relative, Mr. President. So that would be all my questions, Mr. President. At least establish natin that mabigat na decision dito on the part of Mr. Corovin. And if he's willing to make it, let's give him a chance. And at the same time, we are giving the country a chance to also develop our interest in winter sports, especially figure skating. Maniwala kayo o hindi, marami interesado sa figure skating. Meron na akong nalapitan ako ng isang solo parent na may special child. Yun ang wish ng kanya special child, mag-skating. At sinulatan ko ang SM. They granted my request ng SM Cares. Meron pala silang SM Cares Foundation. They arranged a coach for the child. Nag-skating siya. So with Mr. Corovin here, and let's say if we win the medal, siyempre yung interest na yan will really explode, and then maybe he can really establish some schools here for the training, formal training of our future champions in Winter Olympic sports. So
Yes, Mr.
that would be great, Mr. President. Pinapakita natin the flexibility, the multi-talent of the Filipino. Imagine mo, winter sports. Magkaka-medal po tayo. A tropical country na ang national fruit natin is the mango. And then we have a medal in Winter Olympics. That would be all for me.
Yes, hindi ganun kalakas ang entusiasa pag magkaroon siya ng medalya. under our flag dahil alam naman natin lahat, hindi naman Pilipino yan. Ginawa lang natin Pilipino.
But the partner, Mr. President,
Well,
the grandniece of Senator Webb,
Maybe, Mr. Majority Leader, the chair would like to be enlightened if the Russian government recognizes the dual citizenship.
from what the majority leader mentioned,
I just would
talagang
like to
wala.
have a-
Opo, we'll send a paper that would form parts of the records of
Yes.
these proceedings,
I just
Mr. President.
like to confirm it.
Yes. And Mr. President, on another historical note, if I can recall, hindi pa naman ako tao noon, di ba tayo, Pilipinas yung nag-host ng mga Russian Jews? No? Talagang malapit sa atin din ang Russians. At sa amin po sa Tagaytay noon, Mr. President, kung familiar kayo sa People's Park in the Sky, yung baba po noon, agricultural land po yun. Isang tao lang po nag-alaga, Russian. Russian. Sila na po nag-agriculture noon, lahat. Ang galing po. Ayun lang po, Mr. President. Salamat po sa ating minority leader.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Thank you, Senator Francis. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, there being no other member who wishes to interpret, I move to close the period of interpellation.
Any objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, there being no committee or individual amendment, I move to approve on second reading, House Bill number 10048. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. House Bill number 10048 is hereby approved on second reading.
I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 10048.
An objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, the minority leader, seeking the floor.
While the topic is still fresh, just for full transparency, we checked with the Russian embassy, and the feedback from the Russian embassy is that they allow dual citizenship,
Oh.
Mr. President. So our initial input was mistaken, Mr. President. Thank you.
So he will be a holder of two passports. That's a problem for me.
Mr. President, 1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2797 under Committee Report number 333. This is the bill declaring Pampanga as the culinary capital of the Philippines. So moved, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the resumption of consideration of Senate Bill 2797 under Committee Report number 333 is now in order.
Mr. President, having sponsored the measure, I move to open the period to interpellate and recognize the sponsor, Senator Mark Villar, and to interpellate our minority leader, Senator Aquilino Pimentel. So moved, Mr. President.
Hearing no objection, the period of interpellation is in order. Senators Mark Villar and Coco Pimentel.
Yes,
hereby
thank you.
recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. With the permission of our sponsor, I've noticed that this bill was introduced by Senator Manuel Lito Lapid. So who can object to such a good intentioned bill, Mr. President? So this will be a very brief but friendly interpretation, but hungry for information, Mr. President, about the bill. So our bill declares the province of Pampanga as the culinary capital of the Philippines in recognition of its contribution to the dynamic and rich culinary history of the country. So if this bill becomes law, Pampanga will now have the title, the culinary capital of the Philippines. But will this law prevent other regions or LGUs or places in our country from aspiring to be also designated as some food or culinary center or hotspot of the Philippines?
No, it does not prevent any other areas, any municipalities, provinces from declaring, from honoring their own culinary history. But I think this is, so it does not diminish, this bill does in no way diminishes the culinary excellence or culture of other areas. But of course, this bill is, the intention of this bill is to honor the culinary excellence, which I think we can all agree here, the culinary excellence of Pampanga, which we know for its, which is well known for its food. I'm sure everyone here knows that very well. At the same time, I think this bill is needed so we can honor this legacy, and it will help a great deal also in the promotion of their tourism. So for me, it does not diminish in any way the cultural, the culinary culture of other areas. It merely seeks to promote and, of course, honor the culinary history and the culinary contribution of Pampanga.
Yes, with that clarification, Mr. President, that this is not an exclusive title, that Pampanga will not monopolize any culinary-related, food-related titles by other areas. I have been clarified, Mr. President, so I fully support this bill of Senator Lito Lapid, Mr. President, because there is also some samples there in our lounge, Mr. President. So yes, our senses, especially our sense of taste, really confirmed the dynamic and rich culinary history of the province of Pampanga. And so we thank whoever provided us with the Kapampangan dishes in the Senator's Lounge. We thank them for, this is hindi lang po ito, para tayong this is a 3D experience eh. Hindi lang ito, we're not just talking about it, we are also tasting it or living it out, Mr. President. So maraming salamat po to our sponsor, for the patience of our sponsor. And we welcome, for the record, we welcome former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. He's also, yes, the former President is there in our lounge also partaking of the delicious Kapampangan dishes there, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President, Senator Villanueva seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Villanueva is recognized.
Mr. President, this is not to ask further questions on this particular measure that we are deliberating upon. But we just wanted to put into the records of this August chamber that despite the fact that there are so many Bulacan delicacies and dishes that we are very proud of, we also feel that when you talk about the culinary aspect of cuisine, we definitely take into account the prowess and the popularity of Kapampangan culinary. And as being attested by so many members of this August chamber the past few days in the Senate lounge, I would just like to put into the records our sincerest thanks and gratitude to our neighbor province, the great province of Pampanga, for also giving us the opportunity, Mr. President, na yung dishes po nila, yung cuisine nila, na i-share po doon sa katabing lalawigan, sa dakilang lalawigan ng Bulacan. Kaya tayo po ay sumusuporta sa panukalang batas na ito. Maraming salamat, Ginoong Pangulo, at ino-congratulate po natin ang mga authors ng panukalang ito, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva. Leader.
Mr. President, next is Senator Juan Subiri, seeking the floor. I move that he be recognized.
Senator Subiri is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Majority Leader. Mr. President, mine is a manifestation of support because I just want to read verbatim a text message last Saturday, November 16 by, as most of you know him as Kulas. We made him a Filipino citizen, becoming Filipino. Ninong Sen Migs, what was the restaurant in Pampanga with the good food I remember that you kept mentioning about how great the food was in Pampanga. So I gave him the name. It's the name of the restaurant is called Binulo restaurant. Sarap yun. Kasi sarap ng kanilang buro. Meron na ba sa Tagaytay? Mas swerte mo. Napakaswerte ng Tagaytay. Pero aside from Binulo, there are hundreds of amazing culinary experiences that you can visit in Pampanga. And I'm a big fan. You know, my family is originally from Negros Occidental. We moved to Bukidnon. But I know Negros has its also all share of very good food. We all know Iloilo has its share of good food, Region 6. Now it's NIR in Region 6. Mindanao also has some claim to fame on some of the food in certain areas of Mindanao, in Zamboanga, in Davao, in Northern Mindanao. Pero nothing really beats the original, which is Pampanga cuisine. Kaya, without a doubt, Mr. President, this is a timely measure, and I fully support this. As a matter of fact, I can count many pounds gained in my tummy due to Pampanga food. It is really amazing. Kaya kanina, if you ask the waiters, nagagalit ako sa mga waiters. Sabi ko, bakit ang sarap ng pagkain nyo? Sira na naman ang diet ko. Kaya sinabayan ako ni Senate President Pro Tem Jingo Estrada kumain kanina. Sira parehong diet naming dalawa. But that's how good the food is. No?
Ako matagal ng sira.
So thank you very much, Mr. President. I give my full support to this measure. And I'd like to also welcome my ninang, former Vice President, former Speaker, now Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who's here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Subiri.
Yes, Mr. President, last to make a manifestation is our Majority Leader, Senator Francis Tardino. I move that he be recognized.
The Majority Leader is recognized.
Mr. President, I likewise extend my full support to this measure, declaring Pampanga as the culinary capital of the Philippines, Mr. President. Sino ba ho ang hindi nakakalimot sa tosino, sa sisig, sa tibok-tibok, bringhe. Lahat po, Mr. President, pindang. Lahat po yan galing sa Pampanga. So, Mr. President, what we are doing right now is not just declaring a place as a culinary capital, but preserving the legacy and tradition and culture of a certain place, which is a mirror image of Filipinos. Likewise, Kapampangan dishes can truly serve as ambassadors of Filipino food, culture, and introducing the world and the world to the diverse flavors of the Philippines. So I fully support this measure, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. The chair would also like to express his full support to the bill on hand. I am a witness to that because I always go there in Pampanga during my teenage days when I was courting my wife. And I am witness to that because my mother-in-law cooks a good Kapampangan food. That's all, Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, with that, I could agree no less, no, that Kapampangan food is really one of the best, and they're really passionate about their culinary dishes, no? To add, hindi lang po kaldereta, pako, ano pa ito, buro, batute at iba pa, no? Kapag sinabi mo Kapampangan, talagang siguradong masarap pagkain, tibok-tibok and a lot more. And likewise, Mr. President, since there are no other members who wish to enter, I move that we close the period of interpellation.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that to approve the measure on the second reading.
Wala amendments?
May amendment pala si Senator.
Are there no individual or committee amendments?
Mr. President, I withdraw my motion. I just moved to suspend the consideration of Senate Bill number 2797.
President, may I ask for a minute suspension, Mr.
Say suspended. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, there being no committee or individual amendment, I move to approve on second reading, Senate Bill number 2865. So move, Mr. President.
Is there an objection? There being none, the motion is approved. Senate Bill number 2865 is hereby approved on second reading.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, likewise, Senator Bongo would like to be a co-author of the Pampanga bill, and likewise, all senators present, they made co-authors of the measure.
Before that,
Number?
I would like to correct my statement. Instead of 2865, it should be Senate Bill number 2797. And all
senators present
members
be made-
present be made co-authors. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend consideration of the said measure.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we consider adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 686. This is the resolution congratulating and commending Makati FC for bagging 4 trophies during the Denmark's Cup #1 tournament, which concluded on July 14, 2020 in Frederikshavn, Denmark.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. The resolution is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 750, resolution congratulating and commending Vanessa Sarno for winning 3 golds at the 2020 Asian Youth and Junior Weightlifting Championships held in New Delhi, India.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion's approved. The resolution is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, I move that we consider and adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 687. This is the resolution congratulating and commending Robin Brown for capturing the Philippines' first gold medal at the 2020 Asian Athletics Championship held in Bangkok, Thailand from July 12 to 26, 2023.
Is there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. The resolution is hereby adopted. Isa pa.
Minute suspension, Mr. President.
Session suspended.
resolution.
Mr. President, I move that we consider adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 630. This is the resolution congratulating and commending the Brick Titans Philippines for winning the first Lego League World Championship Explore Division ages 6 to 10 held last April 19 to 2020 at the George Brown Convention Center in Houston, USA. So move, Mr.
Is
President.
there an objection? There being none, motion is approved. The resolution is hereby adopted.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 o'clock in the afternoon of Tuesday, November 26,
Ano
2024.
yun?